a little masterclass in content creation real quick for anybody that's not already doing it. So first of all, you need to kind of figure out the problem. And we're talking about this in the research of the people. So I like to say, find the special group of people with a specific set of problems.
Welcome to Stay Paid Insurance and Financial Marketing. Unlock the secrets of success in insurance and financial services, where each episode delivers valuable tips and strategies to elevate your marketing game and help you succeed in both life and business. Brought to you by Reminder Media. Welcome to Stay Paid Insurance and Financial Marketing. Our guest today is Dominique Henderson. Dom has spent over 2 decades in the financial services industry, is the founder of DJH Capital Management, as well as Jumpstart Coaching Labs, which is educating and coaching the next generation of financial professionals. In addition to being a 2-time founder, Dom has been named one of Investopedia's top financial advisors in 2021, is the host of Conversations for Financial Professionals podcast, and is the author of Assess, Address, and Adjust, a practical guide to becoming unstuck and achieving your goals. Dominique, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Josh and Luke. I appreciate the invite, and I'm willing and ready and eager to get into this topic today.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm excited because when you had emailed us back, the number one question that we get from our listeners is, how do I generate leads? And partly the reason why is because this is a marketing and sales podcast, and Josh and I run a marketing company, and everybody's looking to, how do I get my next client? How do I generate leads? And, I loved your approach. I'll let you share it, but it's about, really, is that even the right question to be asking? And how do I get my next client, or how do I generate leads? So I'd love to pick your brain for you to share like how you think about the lead gen process and adding of a client.
Yeah, I think, so let's begin with a quote, because that'll make me sound really smart. Attribution to the great Andy Andrews, who's a friend. The quality of our questions determine the quality of our answers, right? So it really puts the onus on us as financial professionals, or whatever professional we are, when we're trying to build a book of business, to ask the right questions. And then just be more thoughtful, more methodical around how we arrive at what those right questions are. So, I've been doing this. I was listening to the bio, and by the way, Josh, great job. I was like, golly, okay, so I need to update that, because it doesn't look like it because of my boyish features, but this is year 26 in the industry for me. And so I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, what would I tell, let's call it the fresh out of college, 22-year-old Dominique, about lead generation? What question would I tell him to ask? And so that's how I kind of want to pose this conversation that we're having today. And I think the wrong question to ask is, how do I find more clients? And I know everybody's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Like that's the question I ask all the time. It's like, well, just open your mind for just a second, just pause. Let me lay this out for you. Because if we ask, how do we find more clients? A mentor of mine, the great Dr. Myron Golden, always says, there are tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people wanting to buy the thing that you offer, if only they knew about you. So this then points to not how do I find more clients, but how do I make myself findable for the right clients? If you start asking the latter question, then it gets a lot more interesting, and I think a lot more fulfilling. So I'll hang up and listen, and let's unpack that for a bit.
I love it. So then tell me, when you think, right, because most people, they go very down to the tactic, right? So is it cold calling? Is it seminars? Is it mailers? Is it running paid advertising? How do you break down which tactic and road you want to go down?
Yeah, so it begins with research, right? There's this thing called Google. It's been around for a while, and literally it is the best source. If I had a screen share, I've done this in a couple of videos, but literally, let's use the example, because I've used this a couple different times. Let's use the example of dentist, right? So I'm a financial advisor, and I want to work with dentists, right? So what I might type into Google is, hey, what are some of the major problems that dental practitioners have in opening their firms? Because here's the deal. And I think you guys know this and can appreciate this as business owners. When a financial advisor comes up to you, for the most part, shoving the Wall Street Journal in your face without really knowing how to offer value or what you deem valuable. Hey, this is what you can do to do a backdoor Roth, or put more in your IRA, or blah, blah, blah. You're like, dude, I'm just trying to hire and keep more employees and become more profitable, right? I don't even care about that, right? And I think that's where the first problem is. So we have to research well. Financial professionals do a really good job studying. I know, I'm a CFP. Like, I passed all the exams, I did all the things, and we're really good at studying and sometimes retaining that information. But when it comes to the value proposition, UVP, let's use some terms here, unique value proposition that I offer to somebody, what is that particular thing? Like, if we're using dentists, perhaps they are wanting to refinance some of the expensive equipment they use to work on our teeth, right? So that could be something that concerns them. They could also be wanting to, let's do something really relevant. They could also be wanting to utilize or retain some of their key employees. So maybe the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, was something that they needed to understand, right? So how could I break that down as a financial professional to them? So different things like that. Those are things that present value to that target audience. Instead of me trying to propose what I think they need, let me actually go find out what they need. And so to your point, Luke, about what should we do? Should we cold call? Should we do seminar dinners? Should we, yada, yada, yada? Maybe we should do that research, and then we can produce something like what I call a lead magnet or a give to get offer, right? I give them value, they get me, I get their attention. Right. So maybe it's a case study on the top 5 questions that dentists are asking to become successful in their practice in the first 2-3 years. Right. So there's things that I can do in order to get their attention. And then all I do is ask for a name and an email address and maybe a text. And I won't spam them. And they put their name, email address. They download this immediately. Right. They get it as soon as they go to my website. It's not a whole lot of hoops. And then I can drip on them on my email list over time. I'll put this out there. So I used to target pharmaceutical and med device professionals when I first started my wealth management firm. And I kid you not, I brought on a client in May-ish of 2023 that I had been dripping on since I started my firm in 2016.
Wow.
And I went back in the LinkedIn message, because I use this as a teaching lesson for the people that I coach. I said, first of all, never give up. Always promote value, always give value, because that's everything she said. She said, I was with a CFP then, but I told you whenever I switch, I would give you I would give you a call. And me just putting content out there, just being available, her just seeing me. A lot of this, and this is kind of parenthetical, but a lot of this is people just want to look at you and see that you're going to be around in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because we're talking about their finances and we're talking about their money. They don't want somebody that's going to be here today and be gone tomorrow. So the longevity of it helps. But what she told me is, she was like, you did not pound me with a bunch of spam. You just showed up with value. And the first time I had an issue, you were the person I called after my CFP was gone. So I think the long game is what we need to kind of get our heads attuned to. And that's the whole value proposition there. And
with ChatGPT now, I'm thinking about just content-wise of trying to figure out that pain point of the industry. Like, you could literally go to ChatGPT or Bard and say, what are the top 5 pain points that a dentist experience trying to grow their practice? And it would go and do all that summation for you. So that is a huge golden nugget and action item for people, is literally go find out the niche that you're trying to go after. What are the actual pain points? So do you have any perspective on how long it usually takes to win a client? I'm just curious, in the financial services industry, is it like a year on average you're nurturing somebody, 6 months? What have you seen in your career?
Yeah, I've seen that this can particularly be a long sales cycle, and I'll unpack that, or it can be a short. So there's a guy that I just met at the Ultras conference named James Cannoli. Anybody that's in financial services should definitely Google or YouTube him and see his process, his firm growth. And I don't want to butcher the numbers, but he's had just phenomenal firm growth over the last 12 to 18 months. And here's the deal. So a little masterclass in content creation real quick for anybody that's not already doing it. So first of all, you need to kind of figure out the problem. And we're talking about this in the research of the people. So I like to say find the special group of people with a specific set of problems, right? It could be dentists, it could be real estate agents, it could be whoever you want. Just pick a special group of people with a specific set of problems, because then it allows you to offer really high value services to them. So after you do that, then I think you need to pick a platform. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all the different places they can be. Just show up in one place with a consistent message that offers value. And then you can spread to these other places. So I like video because you get the 3-banger, right? You record the video. Now you have micro content for your blog. And if you want to strip the audio, now you got a podcast. I mean, like, that's brilliant. Gary Vee, like when he came up with that, I was just like, that's great. So I think, if you show up, let's say on your podcast or on your video blog, I like video just because I get to do that once and it lives on. It just forever, right? I still have people watching Day in the Life of Financial Planner, Day in the Life of Financial Advisor, whatever I call the video, that are still emailing me and downloading a lead magnet for a video I created almost 4 years ago.
Wow.
And YouTube still pays me for it. That's the other like bonus, just gravy on it. So like the long game on that, going back to your question, Luke, is like, how long will it take? I mean, do you want to put out one decent video a month, or do you want to do once a week? And do you want to then take that long form and split it up with something like Opus Clip and make, 10 to 15 clips and put them on Twitter or X now and Instagram.
And Opus TikTok. Clip is an AI tool, right? Like
yes,
you basically can, everybody should check that out.
Upload your video up to YouTube, the finished clip, or however you want to do it, and let Opus Clip do its job. In like 10 minutes, you'll have like 10 clips that are super relevant to just the hook. And you can vary that. You can say, I want 30-second clips, or I want 15-second clips, or I want minute clips. So like, there's so many tools. There's like literally no excuse in 2023.
Is your point in the nurturing, it's like, obviously there's going to be different people at different phases of awareness in the funnel, but it's a lot has to do with the amount of frequency you are in front of these people and how often you're getting out and reaching out to them. It's like, give a comparison, like real estate, I think it's like 14 months on average, like the sales cycle, 14 months. I feel like advisory is probably similar.
Well, because you got to think about the size of the item in the budget. This is an economic concept. So how often do people buy houses?
11
Unless
years,
they're real estate
maybe?
investors, right?
Yeah.
And how often do people move their 401ks? Well, as often probably as they're going to change their job, but as many clients will tell you, people have orphan 401ks. So since there's such a high degree of, like, say, there's some risk around buying a house because it's such a big financial transaction, and as well as you're building your nest egg, it's going to be a longer sales cycle naturally. But I think, kind of like the Alex Hormozi formula, the more content, more quality content that you put out there, the better for you.
Yeah, agree.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's what the pain point that I see, and you probably have experienced this, is that we need the instant gratification, and that's a bad way to maybe put it, but people need to eat today. So they are constantly looking for people at the bottom of the funnel. And that's how they run their day, is trying to search for people at the bottom of the funnel. But there's like 1% at the bottom of the funnel. So everybody is vying for that 1%, and it's a bloodbath. Then you have the 99% where other people are not at the bottom of the funnel, but they will eventually get to the 1%. But you can't win in the 1% if you haven't showed up in the 99%. But in order to show up in the 99%, you have to do content that doesn't return anything today. And I was literally having this convo today with a real estate agent going like, I know it's not going to generate any deals today, but it will generate deals today. You just got to believe that if you show up in the 99%, you'll get to 1%. Do you find it similar in your career? Like that is what you have seen?
Absolutely. I think maybe it was I forgot, one of Jeb Blunt's books says basically whatever you're seeing on your calendar for the next 30 days has happened in the last 90 days of activity. So if you have not been doing, to your point, the 99% part, you don't get to the 1%. Like every once in a while, you may have some luck and, you get the person that's just like, I just fired my broker yesterday or whatever the deal may be. But I will say that's probably less than 1% of the chances. It is. And everybody's vying for it. The guy at Edward Jones, the guy at Raymond James, the girl at Morgan Stanley. Like everybody is going after that. And then if you have not built up, here's a really, really important point for independence. If you don't have the name backing of a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley or a Schwab, and you're independent, but you haven't worked on building a personal brand, who do you think is going to win that fight? Like there's no way you're going to win against a 900-pound gorilla. So this is why you need to go ahead and find a niche, find that special group of people with a specific set of problems, get on your Instagram or your YouTube or your TikTok channel or whatever you want to do. And I would put forth that content. Now, I'm going to use an example of somebody that people are probably going to find a little controversial. But what you should do is study him, study his marketing machine. Curtis Ray sells a type of insurance retirement solution that I do not particularly personally agree with. However, his marketing is outstanding. And I see all these financial professionals in my clicks that shout him down. But I'm like, dude, he's running circles around you in the marketing part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude.
Because he knows what he's doing. He's putting content out there. And now, granted, yeah, he has got a team, but at this point, but he's doing an excellent job of putting his message out there. And that's where I think financial professionals could take a page from him to put your message out there. Like Myron Golden says, do the same thing you've been doing, but turn the camera on. Right? Like stop, get out of your head about what people are going to think, because the first 6 months of videos, unless you just got super talent, nobody's going to watch. Yeah. Like literally.
we know from experience.
6 months of podcasts, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So get out of your head, use that time as your practice.
Yeah.
And get good at something. So, a lot of people ask all the time, I was just stopped at a conference the other day, or the other month, where somebody was saying, hey, they enjoy my YouTube channel and they've been watching me for years. And I was like, man, I appreciate it, because at the first part of it, I suck, man. Like, how do you watch those videos? Like I still haven't proven it for now, but it's the point of like getting good at your craft and continuing down that path.
Yeah.
And delaying that gratification for that end game of the 99 that you said.
Yeah,
earlier.
Ability to delay gratification. I think like Dave Ramsey is another example. Like there's a viral clip going around of him right now where one of the people that was interviewing him on a podcast said, if I was going to loan you $1 billion at no interest rate or something like that, would you take the billion? And he said no. I wouldn't take it. And everybody's like lighting him up. Dave Ramsey, his advice, terrible, everything. But the takeaway you can get is that man believes so much in his message of no debt that it doesn't matter where you put him. His message is no debt, no debt, no debt. And the man's worth like $400+ million because he understands about messaging. And, there's an example given to me the other day on leadership, but it applies to marketing about repetition. Is when a kid is born, the kid doesn't know their own name, but they've heard their name thousands and thousands of times by the time they're 5 years old, that it becomes their name. It's the art of the repetition of the parent saying the name to the kid, that this is who you are, this is your name. And the point was, in leadership, you got to repeat your messaging, but it's the same in marketing. It's like, hey, Dave Ramsey wants to be known as the no debt guy. So even when you offer him $1 billion with no interest, he's not going to take it because he's the no debt guy, and he's going to hammer that. And even though most people he's getting lit up right now in a viral video. It's the old saying, man, all news is good news. Bad news is good news. Good news is good news, because it spreads your brand out there and you're honed in on that messaging. But I think, the big mistake people make is they don't know their messaging. They don't have that specific group that they're trying to solve a specific set of problems for.
Let me piggyback on that, because the underlying point I'm hearing with what you're saying is there is a problem with, or maybe even a question of, identity. Right. So this whole notion around imposter syndrome, like, let's just debunk this. Carl Richards said it best to me. He's like, I look at imposter syndrome like, it's almost like the uncle that's driving in the car with you in the back seat. You can drive you can ride in the back seat. You just can't drive the car. Right. So the financial professional you want to be, right. So like anybody that's listening to this, the real estate agent you want to be, the insurance specialist you want to be, the wealth management specialist you want to be. You may not have arrived to what the world has deemed as success. But here's the deal. You get to plan, you get to say what success is going to be for you. And you can live in and embrace that identity, not the constructed one that you see on Instagram with everybody flossing and doing whatever they're doing and yada, yada, yada. Who is, going back to the original point, who is the specific set of people and with the specific special group of problem or the special problems that you are designed and uniquely purposed to help? If you embrace that identity, man, I'm a living witness that works. That works with people. People resonate with that. So the authentic part of you, if you can represent that and walk in that, I think that is what will free you to like embrace your own superpower as a financial professional instead of trying to be somebody else or what the industry says you should be.
That's so powerful. Awesome. To tie in with the Dave Ramsey example, Dave did a study on multimillionaires and billionaires. And one of the biggest things that they saw in common was they focused on one thing. Everybody hears about diversified income, right? And 7 streams and all that stuff. But actually, the really, really successful people went all in on one thing. And I regardless, I'm not a money manager or anything like that. I'm not commenting on that. But in terms of business, get really good at one thing. Yeah. Get really good at one thing and do it for freaking 30 years. And you'll wake up a multi-millionaire. And then you'll pivot and you'll serve another industry. And everybody will be like, how'd you do it? And it's like, well, for 30 years, I picked up the brick in this one industry. And I laid it down in this one industry. You didn't see the 30 years. All you see right now is the success of, I'm in every industry. But no, it was 30 years of just serving that specific group of people with a specific set of problems.
No, you're right. That's actually in a book, The Aspirational Investor by Ashvin Chhabra. I read this in grad school, and he said the exact same thing that the study referenced that you said of Dave Ramsey, which was if you took the highest strata of the wealthiest people, they actually had not diversified their assets and their investments. They had asymmetrically focused on one particular thing, whether it was real estate, banking and finance, whatever. And then there were the people that got, the inheritance stuff. But if we're talking about the self-made people like the Elon Musk of the world or the Warren Buffetts of the world or the Donald Trumps of the world, all these people focused on one thing. And that's how they got good at something. And I think it's Gary Vee or whoever says, be so good that they can't ignore you. Like literally be so good that they can't ignore you. And then that's where the wealth comes.
Yeah, so good.
That's awesome. Dom, I'd love to get your take before we close out because I know you wrote a book on achieving your goals. This podcast is coming out around the beginning of the year. It should be coming out around the beginning of the new year. What do you tell people when it comes to, people are going to be setting New Year's resolutions and looking at their goals? I know you can't go over your entire book, but what's sort of your take on how to get unstuck and achieve those goals?
Yeah, so there is what I call the power framework. I'll probably have to redo the book and because there's been so much. So I wrote the book during the pandemic, and it was because I was having so many conversations with wealth management client and consulting clients about people that just kind of felt stuck, right? They were like maybe in a job that they just didn't like or didn't fulfill them anymore. And they were like, I need to hit the reset button. And I wanted to empower people to say that you could hit the reset button. Like you don't have to be afraid. It's almost this whole thing about identity. It's an interesting thing. But this power framework includes your perspective, your program, and your process. So like real quickly. So your perspective is everything, right? Like literally failure can either be a point in time or a state of mind. Like you control that. And I think that's something that people just have to embrace. So perspective is the first part of it. And you have to have the right talk tracks that are happening. If you're telling yourself that you're an imposter and you can't do this as best as the next person next to you, or that you're going to fail, you probably are. That's just how that works. Because the loudest voice we tend to hear is our own. And if we're saying that in our head all the time, that's going to be a problem. So that's the first P in the power framework. Then you have to have a program. I love the 12-week year. I've met Brian Moran personally, and he has an excellent framework that I typically use with my coaching clients, but it's really whittling down through the funnel. What is the one particular thing that you're going to focus on and do well over the next 12 weeks? You don't have a year. You have 12 weeks. It's a 12-week year. And if you screw up one of those weeks, it probably throws off your goal. So how can we get a program in place where there's getting things done, by David Allen, or any of the other things, the frameworks, Tiago Fortes. Like, there's so many people I can name. Find one and stick with it. Stick with it. I've been with my mastermind that does the 12-week year for over 2.5 years now. And we meet religiously every Monday, unless there's holidays or something. And it's been the best point of accountability. And then the last thing you need is a process, right? So how will you begin your day? Will you begin your day with gratitude, exercise, meditation, or will you begin your day checking your phone and stressed out, looking at your bank account? Like if you do the same thing over and over and you're expecting different results, we call that insanity. So I wrote that during the pandemic, and it's been helpful for people, especially my coaching clients, just because I think we need frameworks to help us carry out the disciplines that laying the bricks, right? The brick by brick every day to help us get to where we want to go to.
Love it.
Awesome.
Dom, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, it's easy. It's Dom Henderson SR. So I am a senior. I created another Dom. So you got to put the SR after it. DomHendersonSR.com. Got a lot of stuff there. If anybody is interested, I'll say this too. You can put in the link. There is a free book that I have with the 3 moves that go more in detail about this specific group of people with a special group of problems. And like, I walk through all 3 steps of increasing lead generation, increasing the wallet share, increasing loyalty for your client base. So
it's awesome.
You can go there and get that for free. Just, you guys put it in the download so that everybody can get it.
Awesome. We will. Thank you again for coming on, and thank you all so much for listening. You can dive deeper into this episode, get the video as well as the links that Dom mentioned there, all in one spot over at staypaidpodcast.com. And if you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. We'll read it here on the show. And the best way to support the show is simply to share this episode with someone that you know. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow our content journey along over on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Dom, fantastic, man. No surprise that you are where you're at in life. Really, really good golden nuggets in this. My action item for everybody listening to this, because you got to be a doer, not just a hearer. You need to make sure you have identified the specific set of people that you're going after with the specific set of problems. Go get this ebook download. So go look at the show notes. The link will be right there for you. Go get it, and he'll walk you through these 3 steps. But I really believe there's riches in the niches, as they say, but it will help give you clarity. And the enemy of execution is a lack of clarity, is confusion, is complexity. And you need to get clear on who you're serving and why you're serving them. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.